in Gulf Drug. She's going to talk about the pharmacy automation cycle and workflow. Then at 11, we're going to host Dr. Omar Al-Sukhni. He's a clinical pharmacy specialist, acting head of pharmacy in Jalila Hospital. He's going to cover the subject of implementing medication safety measures across the hospital through automation. And also we're going to host Dr. Ammar Jaber. He's an associate professor for the clinical pharmacy and pharmacotherapeutics in Dubai Pharmacy College. We're going to cover the medication safety and precautions in handling automation. I think we are ready to start our webinar. We have enough attendees to start. I would like to welcome first Dr. Aya. Doctor, are you with us?
Good morning, everyone. Yes, I'm here.
Good morning, Doctor.
So I'll share my screen.
Please, if you may. I would like to remind you that at the end of this today's webinar, we're going to share a survey link through the chat box where you can access just to evaluate the webinar, give us your opinion, and also apply for a certificate so we can distribute back, like within 5 days maximum, an electronic certificate of attending this webinar. Okay, Doctora, please. It's all yours.
Hi. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, George, for the introduction. So I'm the clinical pharmacy specialist at the Pharmacy Automation Unit. And today, hopefully, I'll be able to give you an introduction to our pharmacy automation solution. So I'll provide like an overview about what is pharmacy automation. We will talk about what are the normal or usual traditional processes and challenges faced. What are the automation key benefits after the changes of the traditional processes, the impact of automations, and a little bit of a solution overview cycle. So let's begin with the definition. First, what is pharmacy automation? So by definition, it is the mechanical process of common tasks, or the cancellation, you can say, of tedious tasks in a healthcare setting. It includes integration of robots and machinery in the pharmacy, and it improves the process of storing, administration, filling, even packaging and labeling prescription medication, and pill counters or counting pills. What is the impact? So when you place an automation solution in your pharmacy, we have mainly 3 impacts to focus on. You have it decreases waste and removes expired medications. So you have other factors. So we have financial savings. It decreases and removes tedious tasks. So here we're impacting saving staff time. And most importantly, when you cancel tedious tasks and focus more on clinical tasks, you're improving here the patient safety, which is the most important one. So usually what happens is when we talk about our solutions, what the usual people see are the machine and its accessories, when the tasks is much more than that. You have, when you implement automation, you have changes in, you will have shift and changes in policies and procedures. You have changes in the workflow, and you have how can the staff or the pharmacy team or who is using the automation have the proper knowledge about it and the maximum utilization of the device. So you can say these are the main factors that help contribute to the success of the automation. So our solutions are a lot. I'll be mainly focusing on the outpatient area and the central and inpatient pharmacy solutions for today. So we'll begin with the central pharmacy. So I'll begin with the traditional pharmacy. So the traditional of a central pharmacy will be like in a normal inpatient pharmacy, and it can vary from area to area or from hospital to hospital. Some are what we call centralized, where all the equipment is located in one area. All the card fills, the medications, everything that's needed is in one area. And then the pharmacy will take these medications from this central area and send it to the patient care areas. What we have also, what we call a different approach is the decentralized approach, where most of the medications are actually kept near the patient care or in the nursing units. So the nurse can take the medication from there and give it to the patient near her. So this is the decentralized. What are the main challenges faced in a traditional central pharmacy? Mainly, there is no proper understanding of the word consumption. There is a risk of medication shortages. It's a lot of time-consuming tasks, and this will impact staff efficiency and will not allow them to focus more on the clinical tasks while focusing on other tasks. And it's really hard to always try to continuously to improve the patient experience. Now, when we transfer the medication, it's usually transferred, this is what we call the traditional way, in cartridges, where the pharmacy will place the 24-hour doses for the patient and distribute them to the nursing unit, and the nurses can take the medication from there and give it to the patient. However, when we shift the automation, the central pharmacy and its method kind of will change. So here, this is a layout, as you can see here, of a central pharmacy. It will consist of a central pharmacy manager, which will manage the fridge, the automated carousel. As you can see, there is no longer normal shelving system, and there is other shelves and cart fills. All of this can be controlled by one system. So just to give you an idea, this is how an automated carousel has, and you can see it will move show the requested medications to the pharmacist and the exact location with the needed quantity, while the central pharmacy manager will be able to control and manage all the medications in the pharmacy. So this will allow for the pharmacy team to have more inventory management and efficiency, to understand all the orders that are happening in the central pharmacy and even in the nursing unit. While the pharmacy receives the medication in bulk, there is areas in the hospital pharmacies, what we call the pre-packaging area, where they shift the medication from normal medication into unit dose. And there's multiple types for that, or automation that supports the pharmacy to do so. So we have, for example, here, it provides each unit dose will consist of the item name, strength, and the barcode, of course. And this will allow the pharmacist to have faster preparations, as it will be preparing it for them. While we have other devices, for example, such for liquid dosage form, this is for the liquid packaging solution, where it shifts the liquid medications into unit doses. It can be in 10 ml, 5 ml, 15 ml. So this will allow the pharmacy to, instead of sending, for example, a whole bottle where it will be, for example, lost, for example, of paracetamol in a pediatric unit, this will allow them to manage more and control the needed sending doses, decreasing medication waste and making sure that the patient is taking the exact right dose. We have other semi-automated automation device also for oral solids. This also allows the pharmacy team to pack the oral solids into unit dosage form. Other than oral solids and oral liquids, we have also for syringes, where also the pharmacy will be able to pack it securely in a unit dosage form, and they can even have it in light protective cover, or what we call amber color, and it will contain all the medication's information, the barcode, and unit strengths of the medication. So this is what will happen. So they will pack the unit dose and they can control it from here to send it to the nursing units. So moving on to the nursing units. So this is just a typical layout of a nursing unit where the nurse needs to access the medication near the point of care. As I mentioned previously, the pharmacy will send daily pharmacy supply for the nurses to be able to get the medication. Now, instead here, they will fill what we call an automated dispensing cabinet here, and they will be able to place more than 80% of the medication. So what is an automated dispensing cabinet? Basically, an automated dispensing cabinet is a computerized drug storage device. It will allow the medications to be stored in high quantity and dispensed the near point of care. So instead of the pharmacy sending on daily doses the medication, they will place high amounts or high consumptions for the nurses that will last them for the week, while still securely being able to take the medication. So this is just an example here. As you can see, the nurse from the screen will select her patient from here and will be able to view their orders, and then it will guide them by light to get the medication needed and only be able to take the order that was prescribed. So just to simplify more, just in a way, the workflow and how it goes, what will happen is the doctor will write a prescription where the pharmacist will check and validate the order on the hospital information system. And then it will be transmitted through the patient profile and reaches the automated dispensing cabinet, which is located in nursing units. Here, the nurse will come access and select her patient, views the medication order from the ADC, and dispenses in unit dose the verified orders of the medication and administers it securely to the patient. So what we did here is like a study to study the shift between traditional to ADC. So this is a pre and post study. I'll just go quickly on it. We did it on one of the biggest hospitals here, and it will be soon be published. And I just want to highlight what's the impact. So what happens when a hospital places an ADC in their pharmacy? So it will impact on saving time on collecting the first dose or the initial dose to the pharmacy, where the nurses used to spend or wait 30 minutes or 10 to 20 minutes to receive their medication. Now they can collect it easily from the ADC within 1 to 5 minutes, depending how many patients they have and on the medication order. Nurses used to face missing medications. When they would go to the cart fill, they would not be able to find their medications. Like over 51% would not be able to find their medication. Maybe it was taken from the previous shift or it was lost due to whatever reason placed. However, since the medications are now placed securely in the ADC, what we noticed from the study that 95% no longer experience this issue. They will always be able to find their needed medications. While when it comes, of course, to the patient safety, medication errors, when we studied that, the incidence of selection and preparation and on administration error was rating to 20%. However, after placing the device and checking the error rate, they no longer experience medications errors when it comes, or the incidence of near misses of medications errors when it comes to selection, preparations, and administration. While when it comes to the pharmacy team, as they send the cart fill on daily basis and to multiple of wards, they used to spend an average of 1 to 2 hours, and they would have to do daily cart ward visits. While after the implementation, you can see here only 78% now spend 10 to 20 minutes, as some patients or in some areas still require the cart filling process. And instead of having daily visits to the ADC, they're spending an average of 3 days a week, single trips visits to check and restock the medications. Now, as a part of the pharmacist role, and it depends from hospital to hospital, when it comes to checking every item floor stock expiry, pharmacists would spend over an hour and more, over 85% would spend an hour and more on that. However, after implementation on the system, for some medications that are not placed in the ADC, they now spend 10 to 20 minutes, while the system actually provides them reports of all the expiry dates of the medication. So everything here you can say by computerized report, and it will just take them 1 to 5 minutes. Or depending on the reports, or 10 minutes to check, but for the whole area. And also just to highlight, placing the ADC allowed the pharmacy to place narcotics securely in the system and allowed them to shift into paperless narcotic documentations following with the local regulations. Now I finished with the inpatient area, and I would like to show now the comparison between the traditional and placing automation in your area. So here, this is just a picture here where you have a traditional storage system placed, and we have the automated storage here, as you can see. So here's, as you can see, what we call is the automated drop-out or the outpatient drop-out, and you can see that the pharmacist will be close to him, and they don't have to get the medication. They will be able to receive the medication through the chute system here. So this is just a layout idea of what an automated outpatient pharmacy will include. We have multiple devices that I would like to show. So as I mentioned, this is just an idea of the OP robot, where it stores and manages the medication, while the pharmacist can here sit near the patient, focus on his care, and will receive the medication once it's ordered. So here the patient, the pharmacy here will save time. They will no longer need to go and receive the medication. As you can see here, the robot will send the medication to the pharmacy. This will allow them to have more space, storage, and capacity, and it will decrease, or you can say eliminate, medication errors. We have also other for box type of medication. What we have here is also vial dispensing robot. So some patients have specific type of pills to receive, and to save and decrease waste, they can have the vial dispensing robot where it will dispense the medications in vial. This will also allow to have more inventory control and higher security for the medication. As you can see, the vial will be having the patient information, it will be labeled, and even it will consist of the instructions placed. For the multi-med packaging solution, the pharmacy provides here, this is what we call a medication adherence. So this is what we call the SureMed here, as you can see. So usually for patients with, we can say for chronic patients, where they have to take their medications and follow up with them, to help them have more medication adherence, we have a solution that will pack the medication in a booklet, you can say in a booklet pack or a pill pack, where it will have the exact timing of the medication to take. It's very light to carry, and this will allow the patient to just open this pill pack, check the day and the timing, and take the required needed medication. Another solution that I would like to also show is what we call the telemedicine. So this is the telemedicine. It's like, you can see it's like a pharmacy kiosk, where it will be placed, you can say, near for areas that don't have a lot of near hospitals, or maybe it can be placed, you can say, in the malls or areas where it will allow the patient to have faster access to the pharmacist. So what will happen is it's like a drive-through. The pharmacist will arrive the patient will arrive, place their ID, place their RX, and they'll be able to communicate with the pharmacist in a good way, and you will receive the counseling where they can receive their medication. And it will also provide privacy features. So I just want to show the example here. You can see that the patient places their information. The pharmacist will communicate with the patient, make sure of the prescription, and receive it securely and privately. So this was like the main, what we have from overview from the outpatient and inpatient. What I would like to show is what we call is the automated medication cycle. So I would like to explain what happens in an overall, you can say, facility with multiple automated solutions. So what will happen is the facility warehouse will send the medications order to the pharmacy store. And then the pharmacy store will distribute the medications to the area, to the outpatient area, and then, for example, to the central pharmacy. In the central pharmacy, the medications will be packed and then shifted, some of them into unit dose, where the unit dose will be prepared and be packed again in the central pharmacy and the automated carousel. Now this area is fully managed, right? What about the nursing units? So the nursing units will receive the orders, and the pharmacist will fill it here, will fill the medication. So they took it from the central pharmacy and fill it in this area, in the nursing unit area, in the automated ADC. The nurse can then, when she receives the order, access easily and just to provide the patient medication near the point of care. After a time of usage of the system, or you can say of the ADC, for example, here it will send an automatic alert to the central pharmacy manager placed, where it will receive all the needed stock that is needed to be placed in the ADC. So as you can see, everything here is automated. No need for the pharmacist to go and check the stock information. Here, the system will provide an automatic alert and even email the pharmacist that a certain area requires a certain consumption of medications, and then it will guide him or her to the needed medications to be placed in the nursing unit. and then it will be restocked again.
Doctor, I think we're not seeing the presentation. Can you reshare it again?
I hope this is just this section, right?
Yeah, only this section at the end of the.
Okay.
Okay, now we see it. Okay.
Yeah. So after the, do I begin from the beginning, or it was at a certain point?
The last cycle actually.
Okay.
When the CPM ordered for the warehouse.
Okay. So once as we said, we finished from the nursing unit or the near point of care where they require stock. However, what happens when the central pharmacy stock decreases? Here also the system by the central pharmacy manager will send an alert to the pharmacy store automatically that there is a certain amount of consumption of medication is needed, and then the pharmacy stores through the system will communicate through the ERP that there are medications needed for this facility, and the cycle will smoothly repeat itself. So this concludes actually the overview and the cycle. And I hope you enjoyed it. And if you have any questions, we're ready to answer. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Aya, for this interesting presentation. Please feel free, guys, if you want to leave your question in the chat box so we can go through it. I would like to ask you a question. What is the primary role for the pharmacist? Because you show us, the automated cycle altogether from receiving the medication, restocking, and etc. So does the pharmacist plays a role here, or the system is implemented, can do the things by itself, or there is an certain involvement level for a pharmacist there?
No, definitely the system will require a pharmacist to support it. In the end, someone needs to check and follow up with the information, and it actually adds a new role to the pharmacist, more, you can see, administrative function. So the system without the pharmacist will not be able to complete the full cycle of it. So without the pharmacist and someone understanding what this data is given, right? The system is giving us data. And if there is no pharmacist supporting to check on this data or change this data to provide even a more optimum, you can say, healthcare or right distribution of medications, then it will not work properly. So definitely the pharmacist is still needed, or someone, or a team of administrative pharmacists to handle this.
What do you mean by administrative pharmacist?
I mean, like, for example, now when you're handling the system, you need someone who understands it. You need someone who checks on the system. The system has tools and reports. So this is what I mean by administrative.
Is it only checking, or they can, let's say, change, configure things?
No.
And what about optimization itself?
Definitely. What I meant, not just checking reports, I meant that optimization of the system, making sure that everyone is applying the best practice, the policies, the workflow, and the process.
Okay. Okay, Doctor. If anyone has any question for the presentation for Dr. Aya, please let us know. Now it's time to welcome our next guest. He's just because yes. It's locked. My PC is locked for a few seconds. Just a second. Okay, our next guest is our very valuable speaker, Dr. Omar Al-Sukhni. He is the clinical pharmacy specialist and acting head of the Department of Pharmacy in Jalila Hospital. Dr. Omar will cover the implementing medication safety measures across the hospital through automation. Dr. Omar, you're with us? Dr. Amar.
Yes. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam. How are you doing today?
Alhamdulillah. Thank you. You can see my slides?
Yes, we can see it now.
Okay.
Okay. Doctor, I will leave it all yours.
Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. My name is Omar Sukhni. I am a clinical pharmacy specialist, as you mentioned, in Al Jalila Children's Specialty Hospital. I'm working as acting head of pharmacy. Today I'm going to talk about the clinical practice. So what is mentioned by my colleagues in the presentation, how they promote their solution. Now in the clinical setting, how we implement this solution. I have no actual or potential conflict of interest in relation to this presentation. This is my disclosure. The main objective of our presentation today, mainly to talk about, briefly, I will talk about what is the challenge we have in pediatric pharmaceutical care, and what is the implementation for computerization and automation solution in our clinical practice. And at the end, what is the advantage and disadvantage we have found in our practice. Now, I will start by the meaning of pharmaceutical care. As you know, the traditional meaning or the old school meaning for the pharmacy service is the dispensing. Now what we do in pharmacy is beyond dispensing. We do full pharmaceutical care. As a pharmacy team, we are involved in all transaction or patient care, starting from his coming to the hospital, admission, during selection of the therapy, until discharge. The pharmacists have a hand in each step, and we will show you what we are doing and how we would utilize the automation and computerization as a pharmacy team to improve the patient safety and efficacy of our treatment. Now, what is the principal elements that have been published by ASHP, which is American Society of Health Pharmacy statements? That we should identify the problem, actual problem or medication related problem. And if we're able to identify it, we have to resolve it either by automation or any other solution. At the end, we should resolve any problem on the optimal solution to prevent any potential medication related problem. So the definition of pharmaceutical care, as per ASHP, it means that the pharmacy will provide the service started from the selection, dosage, route of administration, method of administration, medication therapy monitoring, duration of therapy, and if there is any related information or patient education. If you notice, it is around 10 steps. The dispensing, it comes only as a one step. Now the pharmacy have built the system and each step to minimize the risk of error, to have more safer practice. Our main focus today about the patient safety. This is our structure in pharmacy. We have centralized inpatient pharmacy that prepare and send the medication in unit dose. So which means that patient will receive, or the unit will receive the medication required for the next 24 hours. We have outpatient setting as well. It has a robotic system, outpatient robot. Our area is open over 24 hours for inpatient, sterile preparation, and outpatient, in addition to the clinical or administration work, which is working in the weekdays from 7 to 5. I will just focus a little bit more on our clinical team. We have a board certified team with different specialty, nutrition support, pediatric pharmacy, oncology pharmacy, informatics, and automation. We have publications for our researches, and we are also certified as a preceptor, which is a good opportunity if anybody interested to have a training in our hospital. This is our collaboration with right now. We have with Children National Hospital and with the Mohammed bin Rashid University Hospital. And the pharmacy has also built a system and informatics based on different database, including Children National Health System. Now, this is the available technology in our pharmacy. We have robotic system in outpatient. We have automated dispensing cabinet in inpatient and emergency department. We have logistic and carousel system in the store, and we have unit dose preparation automated for the oral liquid and tablets. Now, just to give you an idea, what is the meaning of adverse drug events? Sometimes we have, confusion between the difference between medication error and adverse drug events. Any events that related to the drug is considered as drug events. If it causes harm for the patient, we call it adverse drug events. If it can be prevented, it is medication error. But if it cannot be, it is adverse drug reaction of the drug or side effects. So our main focus area is in the preventable harm. We should minimize the harm that can be prevented. Is it related to human error or system failure to prevent any error and improve patient safety? This is our approach today. I will give you an example why we focus on pediatric that have considered as a higher risk for medication error, because the pediatric means patient age from day one of life until 18 years. So the variability of pharmacokinetic or the age group is very high. Neonates is totally different than infant. Infant is different than toddler. Toddler is different than adult. So the general sentence we can say, pediatric is not small adult. They have different pharmacokinetic, different references. And at the end, if we have 5 patients in our ward, each patient has his individual dose or individual pharmacokinetic who needs individual plan for the same medication. So that's why the risk of error is high. It needs more focus and more solution to minimize the preventable error. Now, especially this age group has limited available published data. So we need to search more and find more reliable data to follow in case of for the pharmaceutical care. Additional challenge we have it in Al Jalila is lack of proper dosage form. Most of the medication are available in solid dosage form, so the pharmacy has to recompound it to make it in a solution. So we need to find the data about the stability and compatibility for the compounding. Now you will see this is the different resources that we follow to minimize the error, and we implement their recommendation in our automation solutions that we have. Like, for example, ISMP, this is very common organization to improve safe medical practice. And we have the drug database lexicon that we use it as a reference for pharmaceutical care. Now, what is our strategy in Al Jalila to minimize the risk reduction strategy, to minimize the risk of error? We started by the forcing and functions and constraint of each unit and each healthcare providers. We provide automation and computerization solution for each step in pharmaceutical care. We build a standardization and protocol for most common diagnosis or clinical issues for the patient. We have a checklist and double checking system before dispensing. Even if it is automated, we don't totally rely on the cabinet or in the automated dispensing robot. We have rules and policy that built to minimize the risk of error. And at the end, we do education for healthcare providers and patients to be more careful with the handling of the drug. Now, next is this is the 6 rights and the rule of automation to guarantee that the 6 rights is achieved. To have the right patient who is receiving right medication, right dose, and right route of administration, right time, and right documentation. First of all, when the patient comes to the hospital, how we are making sure that the patient is medication history is properly taken. We built in the system a solution in health information system, the medication reconciliation. The last discharge or last prescription for the patient, it will appear automatically whenever the patient arrives and accessed by his nurse or physician. It will show to him this screen, what is the orders, the active orders, in addition to the verbal discussion with the patient, what he's taking right now. And here you can see 3 signs, either to continue what is prescribed or to discontinue during his stay in the hospital. So this is the first step. So the pharmacy has provided this with the HIS team, Health Information System, what is the items that should be appeared and how long is should be active in this screen. Now another example is the standard order. If the physician writes the first few words of the medication here, he will see the standard order instead of that. All these orders have been built based on the database in terms of dosing, administration, infusions. All these details have been built by pharmacy team, provided to the health information system to make it accessible by the physician. So we have the following solution in our health information system. Order sentence, as you can see here. IV set, what is the proper concentration and proper dilution also in the system is available. The power plan, which contains all, for each diagnosis, we can have all the labs that is required, medication should be given, and other orders for the admission. It's also the pharmacy have provide the medication or the pharmacotherapeutic plan for each diagnosis. We also build the dose range checker. For each medication, we provide the minimum and maximum dose, what is the soft stop and hard stop, when the prescriber, even if he selected from the order sentences, there is a maximum dose. As I said, we are a pediatric hospital, we do with based dosing. So if we exceed the maximum, the system will alert him. And if he exceeds to the level that should not proceed, the system will ask him to modify. And also our system is linked with the drug database, so is able to do drug-drug interaction. All these things are done by the system, and the pharmacy rule was to provide the data and review to verify that it is corrected and updated based on our requirements and practice. This is an example of dose range checker when the physician places a high dose, but still below the maximum, so it will show him an alert and ask him either to cancel, override, or modify. If he will override, he has to justify why he is overriding. And we can generate a report of the order that exceeds our recommended doses. So now after ordering, this is the order will reach the pharmacy. Now, what we have been discussed here is that provided already by the pharmacy team, the background team, to build it in the system. Now in daily practice, when we receive the order that's already built by our staff or our colleagues in clinical team, the pharmacy will do the verification. Verification of the order, he will find the IV set that is built already by us, and all the items that ordered by the physician is mapped with the correct medication in the dispensing system and dispensing cabinet. So that will minimize the risk of selection error. So for example, if the doctor ordered paracetamol IV, the pharmacist cannot select paracetamol oral to dispense. So he has to verify, he has the list of product that is mapped with him, different strength, different concentration, but it should be the correct items as per physician order. After he selects the item, the correct or the particular item will go to the dispensing cabinet, and the items that have been selected by pharmacist will be dispensed by the cabinet. So we guide the system does not guide us. Now the next step is the dispensing itself. If the item is in outpatient setting, the robot will take the product and issue it, then the pharmacist will label it and handle it to the patient. If it is in automated dispensing cabinet, as mentioned by Aya, these cabinets is available in the bedside. So the nurse will go at the due time. So now we are it is a guarantee that the medication will be collected in that right time. We can see, we can talk in steps of dispensing. The nurse will find the order, the patients that she's assigned for as a primary, only her list of patients that she's assigned for it. So this is we can make sure that the right patient is selected. The second thing is the due time, only the due medication she will find. The third thing, she has an access for medication that already verified by the pharmacist. When she selected, only the cabinet that contains this particular medication will open, or the drawer. Not she has limited access to the other medication. So we are make sure that we are taking the right medication. What we have built in our automated dispensing cabinet, the cabinet is able to calculate the dose and the quantity as per order and verification of the pharmacy. The cabinet also will generate the label at the bedside, so it will be a guide for the nurse to go to the bedside and follow the instructions that have been verified by the pharmacist to administer the drug. There is also alert system. It's showing if the medication is look-alike, sound-alike, for her to double check again. If this is high alert medication, so to follow our rules in high alert management. If it is narcotic or controlled drug. Now there is another option also in the cabinet. It is the group of medication or kit. If we build a kit like anaphylaxis, it's a group of medication is needed for specific indication. Whenever it's selected, in sequence the drawer will open and she will collect the required medication for this emergency setting. Now, what else also is built in the system is the security and access only by BioID, so we know and we can monitor who's accessing the drug and who's collecting. Stock management also, for the critical medication, we keep a blind count, which means when she's going to collect, the system will ask her how many medication and quantity you find. So if she writes wrong quantity, discrepancy will appear. Even if she writes correct quantity while the previous one put a wrong quantity, we can know the discrepancy and we can track the discrepancy as well. So this is also a practical solution for the stock management. After selection of the therapy, the system will ask her to barcode the selected medication, which to make sure that she's taking the right medication before the expiry date as well. Now, after dispensing, we can provide education. This HIS system also is linked with the drug database. Now, for monitoring, also the pharmacist has a role in monitoring, and we can show you what is the computerization or automation rule for monitoring. If you press on the medication that is active in the patient list, you can see the related lab result to monitor. For example, valproic acid, patients should have a monitor for the liver enzymes and CBC. Another example, if you want to monitor INR for warfarin patient, just press on the INR, the related result will appear automatically for pharmacists to know if the patient needs any modification or further monitoring. Now, so as I mentioned, this is what we do in automation. If I go to compare our practice with the top 10 medication error that is released by ISMP, first of all, the most common error is the selection of wrong drug or wrong medication after entering the first few letters. This is an example of wrong selection. So how we make sure that they don't do a wrong selection. Each medication has a specific indication and is mentioned clearly that if it is look-alike, sound-alike, or if there is any risk of confusion. It is built into our system to minimize it. Now, daily instead of weekly, the order sentences is built in the system. Error and hazard due to look-alike, sound-alike, as I mentioned, all high alerts are built in the system with notification and automated dispensing cabinet. Verbal and telephonic communication, we have very minimal, we don't accept telephone orders. We have very minimal acceptance of the verbal order in case of limited occasions. Now, unsafe override in the automated dispensing cabinet. In our practice, maybe my colleagues talk already about the meaning of override, that the nurse has access for a limited list of medication in case of emergency. What we do here in our practice, we have very limited list that is built by the consultant of the department with a clinical justification. And we also monitor if the override is utilized properly or not. Now, unsafe practice associated with IV push, as you notice, I mentioned already, we have an IV set for all IV medication, which means when it is ordered by the physician, the system also will show us that it should be given as a push or as infusion. Wrong route of administration, as I mentioned, we have a preset orders that is mapped correctly with the correct order and correct route. Unsafe labeling, this is it's not practical for the 8 and 9. It's not practical and it's not matching with our practice. And number 10 is the 1000-fold for the zinc. Also, the order sentences can solve this solution. So this is I can show you the rules and policies that is built by by the pharmacy to minimize the risk of error, and it's related to medication safety practice, started from high alert medication, end up with a narcotic controlled and expired and outdated medication. Now, what is our future plan? We are planning to have a smart infusion pump. The pharmacy have built the drug database library in terms of dose ranging, acceptable concentration, infusion hours, all these things. It is catched by the system, health information system, and also should catch by the smart infusion pump. Bedside barcoding, this is a closed loop administration started by barcoding the patient, barcoding the medication, which is already in the dispensing cabinet with the barcode, and barcoding the pump in case if giving parenterally by the infusion pump, which means that we will make sure that the 6 rights are matched for each administration. Also, we are planning to have automated compounding for the parenteral product, and we are planning to have extemporaneous database in our health information system. So our approach to build a system, but not to totally dependent on it. We have to double check on the transaction that is done by the system. So in conclusion, what is the main benefits that we have it here in our practice? Capability for the automation and computerization of the practice. We have capability for storing, administration, filling, capping, labeling of the drug in effective and securely way. It is time management, as mentioned by I in the previous presentation. We can utilize our staff more in a clinical practice rather than doing these things that's done by the system. At the same time, we minimize the risk of error by doing by selection by the system and counter check or independent double check by the dispensing staff. As an example, in outpatient, the medication is built or filled, by one pharmacist. The other pharmacist who is in the shift, when he verifies the order, the medication will be selected by the robot. So the new pharmacist or the other pharmacist has to counter check that the robot select the right drug or not. So it is an implementation of independent double checking in the presence of one staff, because one pharmacist have loaded the drug and then other pharmacists have dispensed it. This is in our practice how we make sure that the drug is double checked before dispensing. Now, what is the disadvantage or what we have faced in automation or implementation of automation is the high cost. Always there is, as you know, the technology is continuously developed. There is a new solution in the market. Every day you have a new solution, so you cannot be up to date. And it will cost you. It will cost you and take from your budget. Always the budget is limited. So whatever is taken for the automation, it means it has been taken for. Sorry. Hello.
I'm sorry. Speaker should be
mute, please. Okay, so the main issue is the cost. I will just tell you briefly what is the meaning of opportunity cost. If any project costs us, for example, $1 million or $1 million dirham, this $1 million dirham it can be utilized for another project, like for example opening more beds. So if we use it for the automation, which means we lose to opening more bed. This is what they call it opportunity cost. Now, this other thing, one of the negative things is that people automatically become system dependent. We have done before questionnaire to the staff about calculation error. Most of them said because the system will calculate, so they don't counter check on the system. If there is wrong input, at the end the system will give you a wrong calculation. So to become system dependent or blindly dispense whatever selected by the system is another example of improper utilization. Now, customization, we have a challenge of having multiple systems without proper integration. So it means that we are selecting the drug or importing the drug in one system while we are dispensing it in another system. If there is no proper integration, you end up with double work. Right now, the robot is doing first in, first out, which means if I load the medication today and I load another medication tomorrow, same medication tomorrow, when I dispense, whatever loaded first, it will be dispensed first. So first in, first out. While it should be whatever is earlier with expiry should be dispensed first. Maybe it will be improved in the future. Now, the other thing is absence of proper solution for sterile compounding. Right now, I couldn't find a proper automation system for the matching with our practice as a pediatric hospital. This is an example of the cost to minimize the risk of error. This study have been done in Denmark. They count how much it costs them to build the automation system, and each preventive error, how much was costing. As an example, to prevent a clinical error, it costs around 20 euro. So in terms of, in the language of economy or money, it means you need to utilize to such number to minimize the risk of error or to prevent this preventable error. Questions?
Thank you so much, Dr. Omar, for this very informative, actually, and you highlighted a lot of points in this presentation. I have a very question. What do you think, like, how the pharmacists adopt or let's say work with the technology? Do they have any difficulties and working with technology? And second question is, what do you advise for the students? Like what kind of set of skills they need to have in order for them to be part of this?
Okay, now the challenges we have for handling the technology, we should know what is the capability of the system to utilize it more. For example, if we just do it for our routine work, just to automate the manual work to become automated work, dispensing only, this is improper or not full utilization of the technology. While if you are fully aware about the capability of the provided solution, you will end up with more improvement or more utilization of your available resources. So the pharmacist, usually nowadays, what I have noticed, our staff at the beginning when we implement these technologies, until we become familiar, we utilize our time more in building the system or the database for each cabinet to have at the end proper utilization. My advice for the student, the future for automation. So they should aware about the available solution in the market. They should know what is the role of the pharmacist in building this technology, either from the technical part, because at the end, the technical team will provide solution that is suggested by pharmacists. Or if he will be as an end user, he has to be trained how he or she has to be trained how to use these systems. Because at the end, as I said, blindly depend on the system will remove your role as a professional.
And this is my next question. Due to the real experience you have it and through many years, do you think that technology will replace pharmacists or will, let's say, transfer their position to something else or allocate it to different tasks?
Allocation of different tasks is more, practical, because all these pharmacy information are built or provided by pharmacists. What I have noticed that there is a lot of courses for pharmacy to know more in technology, like pharmacist informatics, pharmacist automation. So which means to utilize his knowledge with the automation approach or with technology, how we can provide the solution for technical team to build the system. So now, and at the end, any technology provided by the suppliers will have a database that is not fully matched with the practice. So it should be modified with the professional team.
Correct.
I showed you a lot of example in this presentation how we are have an input in terms of dosing, standard orders. All these things are provided to the technical team by the pharmacy team. At the end, the prescriber, they follow the system, but the system is built by the pharmacy, or at least the database is provided by pharmacists.
And do you think pharmacists needs to be there always to maintain the system overall, the cycles, the workflow?
Yes.
Or once you build it, it will be...
because before to rely on the system to verify the order is not the proper solution. There is something in the system called auto verification. Auto verification should be only for the practice when there is a clear protocol and there is no direct rule case by case for a pharmacist. For example, for vaccines, usually patient will come and receive his vaccine with no rule in pharmacist or clear rule here. But what was our rule in this system? We make sure that it is built in the system correctly, and the physician will select only this built order. So then our role will be in the background. So the system will, the physician or the system will select the drug and will be auto-verified and administered by the nurse.
Great to hear this. I would like to thank you also one more time for your valuable participation. Shukran, Doctor. Our next host will be Dr. Ammar. Dr. Ammar Jaber is Associate Professor in the Department of Clinical Pharmacy and Pharmacotherapeutics in Dubai Pharmacy College. Dr. Ammar will cover the medication safety and precautions in handling automation. Hello, Dr. Ammar.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
To all of you, yeah, I already shared the slide.
Yes.
I don't know it.
It is. We can see it now, Doctor. Yes.
Okay, that's great.
I will leave it for you.
Okay, thank you so much. I really, I'll just start. In starting, I'm gonna thank those Dr. Omar and Aya for really it's very astonished presentation. They deals with all the aspects regarding the automation. And I'm gonna start from wherever Dr. Omar had stopped, that the role of pharmacist in the future. So I'm sharing the slides. Are you able to see the slides, right?
Yes, we can see it, but it's not in presentation mode.
Okay.
Yeah, no,
like it? Okay. So I'll just make it as a general discussion because I have only few slides. The second thing that, mashallah, it has been covered by both of them in all the aspects. And my topic is medication safety. Is the first question I'm gonna ask myself and ask you, all of you, that there is a great chance of a role of a pharmacist in the future in case of automation, based upon all over the data that we had. I think there is a very great and big role of pharmacists and we should change the scope and focus more about the automation aspects, especially in the syllabus, right or not? In addition to the practice, more practice, especially during the studies or after the study. From whatever I read about the automation process, actually for each automation, we can say that we are having different program or techniques, right? So the pharmacist should know most of these techniques, especially with the handling of different type of automation. And as we said, the training is considered very important. So my slides really deals with the things which even covered by them, but I'm gonna brush it once more. Is the advantage and disadvantage of this automation or automated dispensing devices, in addition to the challenges of the pharmacy automation, patient safety as well, and how we can measure this medication safety. For in case of measurements, which is the last portion, I didn't see that, either from the practice side or from the presentation part that it's covered, if there is any plan which is given in the hospital as a written plan for overcome all these errors in the hospital in case if it's stopped or in case if there is an error with the program. So let's brush from the beginning regarding the automatic dispensing device. It's a simple slides that the automatic dispensing device, we call it as well as a robotic pharmacy, and it has started since long time, 1965, and it's having a very great rules, especially in UAE, in a lot of hospitals, especially the government hospitals, where it's having a role of dispensing the medications, filling the prescriptions. It's having a large capacity for storage, and it's controlled by the computers, which is even can be used a touch screen. Okay, so what is the general aspect of automation in the beginning? That it gives us a great rule, to communicate with other pharmacies, with other pharmacists, and it doesn't, give a barrier between us and even the customers, and it gives us a great role in communication with the information management system. It saves our time. And it's having also another disadvantage, as Dr. Amar said, about the cost. But it can save a time, and it can, per second, I think it can dispense about 10 medications or more. So robotic dispensing system is very great achievements, and it having a great ability to count even the pills, caps, bottles, label the prescriptions, access the patient information, and store 100 of medications as well. So let's start with the advantages. So the advantages of this is, number one, is we increase the efficiency. It increases the efficiency, it results in more convenience, either with the pharmacist or with the customers as well. It improve the patient's care as well, increasing its productivity. And the main part here, that it can fill the prescription even after hours. Means if we are having an order and it's having a capability to refill it even in the second day. Okay, but one thing which I had note today is regarding the FIFO, which is first in, first out. This is also can be considered as one of disadvantage, but it can be as well, it can be controlled if it is properly tracked by the pharmacist. And meanwhile, as well as this automation, what it creates for us, actually it gives us more time to reflect our experience as a pharmacist, how we can reflect our experience or our knowledge, whatever the pharmacist studied during its bachelor or master studies. That the counseling portion considers very important, because it's now, by using this automation, it saves money, it saves hundreds of hours and give us a chance to counsel more, because this automated cannot be giving a counseling, cannot give counseling portion. In addition, it cannot give a medication interaction. It cannot give an oral, explanation for the patient about medication interaction. It gives us a chance as well to increase the quality of life of the patients by tracking the patients, by motivating the patients. Even though it gives us offer a basic preventive care, it means we can start also by offering a basic preventive care such as vaccination, administration of immunization, performing the health screens, and just focusing in full automatization and vaccination clinical tests. So there is a lot of advantage as well, as it can manage more than 200 medications, as we say. And there is a study which is, published in 2018, which was under the Ministry of Health. And there was a lot of compare between the traditional method and between the automatic method. So it's having also a lot of advantage for sterile environments. It gives us a great advantage by prevent the occurrence of contamination between all the kind of medications. But the main issue is as well that we have this system should be properly installed and should be maintained and should be in a proper way refilled. And this is the major challenge which is facing the pharmacists, especially those who's working in the clinical or in practical aspects. So they have to recheck every day, end of the day, regarding the system, regarding the upgrading of the software from time to time, because if any single mistake will happen, it can may result in a disaster. It can offer for us a high safety as well, especially as they explain about those medications which is looks alike or sounds alike as well, which can be also confused for some of the pharmacists. So moreover than that, it can reduce the errors, and really according to whatever Dr. Aya said regarding their studies, it minimized the errors too much by a lot of techniques like photo verifications or barcode and others. But we agree, all of us, that we still have the human errors, right or not? We still have even the error from the system itself. And if the error happens, then it can lead to a very bad consequences. I mean, by the human, at least we still have to verify by more than one pharmacist, but by using this kind of automation, sometimes it's very fast. I read many articles which indicates that there is many errors had happens, and there was no chance for the pharmacist to review, or to follow up with the conditions. Okay, so the main issue also regarding it can be as an advantage and disadvantage as well, that the software it's having a good advantage that it can track more than a lot of pills, a lot of medications, especially the dosage form, which is the solid dosage form, which is available in the pharmacy. In the meanwhile, we should make an update always about this nation software. Okay, in addition to it's having more advantage, that it's give us a chance to recognize those medications which require refrigeration as well. So this is the study which I spoke about, which was in 2018 here in UAE, and give us a lot of difference between a traditional pharmacy as well as an automated pharmacy. If you can see from here that the patients served by using the automated pharmacy was very high, which is more than 9.4 compared to that traditional pharmacy. And the prescribed filled as well, the time to fill the prescriptions is having more reduced, which is about 95.7, which, you can imagine the traditional pharmacy take about 25 minutes to complete the full prescription, whereas the automated pharmacies take only 1 minute to 4 seconds, which is a huge difference of saving the time as well. So this is one of the examples of the recent studies, which is here in UAE, as we say, and it's have a lot of conclusions, good conclusions, to use this automated even in the private hospitals. Meanwhile, if we come across this patient safety, we have to recognize, and we have to say about the disadvantage of this automated machines. First of all is the cost, and I agree with Dr. Amar, and I agree with the others as well, that it's a high cost, especially for the startup information system and as well. And the second thing, it can come at the errors, and there is some, sometimes there is a lack of solution for some type of a products. As we mentioned that we have a lack of, a proper dosage form, like recombine, the stability, compatibility, and this is the thing that we observe in Jalila Hospital now, from whatever Dr. Omar said about the recombined stability and compatibility of the medications. But I'm sure with the advance of these technologies and the role of pharmacists and recognizing this kind of lacks, there is a great chance for improvement as well. And this is the big questions that the students and the newly graduate students are thinking about, that it takes the role of the pharmacy, because it reduced the number of the stuffs which is available in the pharmacy. But it doesn't do the same, it can reduce those who's working as, helping the pharmacist as a technician, but not the pharmacy or the pharmacist, because the pharmacist, he's having the main role there in doing all kind of automation process. Okay, and it cannot replace the pharmacist at all if we come from the aspects of a pharmacy. Okay, the second thing is it doesn't give us an explanation about medication interaction. It gives us in the system, as they said and mentions, that there is a drug interactions, and I'm not sure or not familiar with that medication interaction. Either it is coded in by the pharmacist, or it is, it's ready with the system, because we know that as a pharmacist there is a lot of medication interactions, and each sources and each reference differs from the others to some extent. Those who is using Medscape or Hippocrates, they may have a major, or sorry, a minor, difference in case of medication interaction. So even here, the automation process, it give us an information, but in the same time, it cannot explain to the pharmacist, or it cannot explain to the patient that what is the exact medication interaction. And this is comes actually by the experience of the pharmacist, and there is a great role by the pharmacist here, especially in medication interaction. I went to the several hospitals, they use automated, and some of them they don't use automated. They are having a lack of information about automate this medication interaction. And sometimes when they come to the practice, we get some interaction which wasn't expected, before, because variety of the patients, nature of the human beings, comorbid conditions, a lot of things which we don't want to deal with. So the second thing, it is the robotic can use a disasters if it is a malfunctions. That's why we should, those who's working in the hospital, they should have a written plan regarding if something happened to the robotic, then they can do something as an alternative.
Dr. Ammar, can I just have a comment here?
Yeah.
And just to give you an example of practical solution, we have something we call it the downtime policy, that in case if there is a downtime in this system, what is the alternative plan? That's why always our staff are trained for plan B, for the manual work. Manual compounding, manual preparation, manual dispensing, because as I said during my presentation, we should not totally dependent on the robot, especially some items cannot be loaded in robot due to expensive or the sensitivity available in heavy form and other details. And always we have a technical problem. So we have a downtime procedure to guide the pharmacist what to do in such condition.
Very, very good. Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Omar. But regarding this aspect, which you mentioned now, I want to know, the first of all is the pharmacist who's having the rule in if there is any down with the system. The second thing is this plan happens frequently. I mean, this problem happens frequently in the hospitals, or you face it sometimes? Because if it happens, it can stop all the process in the hospital.
It is not frequent, but it could happen. It happened before. We have downtime one time in the health information system. So what we do, we follow the paperwork prescription, and the pharmacist will dispense in the manual way, like manual retrieving from the robot or manual collection from the store. This is in case of downtime in the health information system. There is downtime in the automated dispensing cabinet. There is two solutions. Either the pharmacy will dispense the doses, or there is something they call it critical override, which means all medication are available, accessible by the nurses during this limited time. But we encourage them to do double checking if they dispense any medicine by override. But override, it doesn't mean that she's blindly select the drug. She will go to the patient name, which is already built in the system before the downtime. If it is a patient come during downtime, she can manually add the patient in the dispensing cabinet, and the cabinet will select the drug. So here still there is area even during the downtime. It doesn't mean that manually she will open the drawer.
Oh, thank you so much for clarification.
It happened before, yes. But this is the management during this time.
Oh, thank you so much. Since we made it as a discussion, I think it's much better. What about this medication interaction, Dr. Omar? How you deal with it? It is a manual.
For the medication interaction, as I mentioned, what have been provided by pharmacy team to the health information system, different alert system. At the end, when the doctor make an order, he end up with many alerts, with alert fatigue. So he just bypassing them by default without properly reading them. So this is what we have found in the practice. That's why we minimize some of them. Like, for example, the drug interaction, if it is not major, it will show only to the pharmacist to double check, not with the prescriber, because some of the interaction is not correct or it's not practical. Like, for example, an antihypertensive drug that the doctor giving them together to minimize the blood pressure, but it's showing them major interaction, hypotension. So he will not follow the instruction by the system. He will just ignore it. While as a pharmacist, we know what is the practical or what is the solution for such interaction. So we don't rely on the system. We take the message from the system, but we provide the solution for such messages.
Okay, thank you so much for clarification, Dr. Omar. I appreciate it. We will continue with the disadvantage. If there is any comments, even from others, we can even discuss about it. We still have more minutes, and I have very few slides. It's not that much. So I think even one of the disadvantages is the implementation of new changes. Especially nowadays, we are having a new technologies every day and every month. It's issuing. So there is a capability of implementing any changes, and how fast it is, because we know that for each robotics, for each this automation, they are having to some extent variations in case of implementation as well. So this is also considered as a disadvantage in general. So if we come to the slides again and find what is the challenges of pharmacy automation, this is the main challenges with the pharmacy automation, based up on a few articles I collected. I collect few informations. The first one, we call it garbage in and garbage out. If the input was given as a wrongly, it can give a very, very, very bad outputs or not good output regarding collection of medication, regarding key, and regarding anything which is related to the health or to the medicine as well. The second point, we already discussed about the variety, that sometimes you bring one of the pharmacists from other hospital, but he used a different kind of program with different of automation process. So all the pharmacists should, train themselves, with a new knowledge, with a new training or the new plans, which bring in as with a different system as well. Downtime, we already discussed about downtime. If in case of a breakdown, if there is something happens, then what is the alternatives that can be, by the pharmacists should follow up by the hospitals. Cost as well, even with the starting up of the robotics and the others, we are facing a lot of cost there. And regarding the last point, which is there is no ability to hold some of the products. Even we discuss about the products such as blood products, flammable products, cytotoxic medications as well. So this is some of the products which which is difficult not to be held, cannot be held by the sum of the system, not all of them. I'm not familiar with the new one. So let's go ahead to the patient safety definitions. So this is the patient safety. When we say about patient safety, when we define the patient safety in general, it is any process or any type of structure which reduce the adverse effect due to any health care system, due to any disease, due to any procedure. And I correlate the patient safety with the disadvantage. Now, what is the disadvantage? We correlate it with the patient safety. This is correlated with each other. And the medication safety measures, how we can measure it? We can measure it by different measurings, you know, and each organization, as we said, it should use, which is used automatic system should have a written plan. And I think those working in the hospital, they're having a written plan as well for safe and effectiveness use of the system. And this written plan should not only by the pharmacist, there is a collaboration between different people inside, doctors, pharmacies, nurse. It can be from the other disciplines, from respiratory therapy, from medicines, which is having the final outcome is for the safe and effective use of the system. This plan should address various things, like it should confirm with the industry and government standards. It should know what is the potential of a source medication errors and how to avoid them if it happens in the futures. And whatever Dr. Amal say now about the medication errors and others, they know actually as a pharmacist much better than the machine that maybe this medication errors can happen and they have a plan before that. They may, you know, it should contain how medication being packaged and labeled, including the standardization, transportation even from the pharmacy to automated, transportation from the automated devices to the patients. This is all should be in the plan. It should be addressable in the plan. In addition to the procedure of auditing all system transactions and avoiding drugs which is having cross contaminations, identifying or removing medications which is near to the expiry, you know, dates. This is also can be very good, you know, when we're arranged, as I saw, you know, by the automated, because it's having barcodes which having an expiration dates for each of the medications. But the problem now, as I hear, that it's only for the FIFO, which is first in, first out, and procedure for reporting malfunctions and breakdown. And this is also as well organization, which is a written plan. This written plan is, it should consist, it should ensure that the accuracy of medication stored, make a readable, machine readable identifications, plan for interruption of the occurs if it occurs in the future, profile interface as well, a process for comparing patient allergies, this written plans, if it's their an allergy actually, with a current medication which is available in the pharmacy. In addition to a profile functionality, which contains all the informations which is, you know, was disclosed before about the doses, infusion rate, frequency, dosing, and others. And finally, we will come to the conclusions that we have advanced technology. And this advanced technology can minimize a lot of medication errors, but still, we still get, or we can get some design or some problems or errors in the future. And there is a lot of benefits, but it cannot be completely removed by using the automation. So there is a need for the pharmacist there. There is a need for the pharmacist to avoid any kind of the future mistakes, to even to control those, to control the automation system as well, and to be familiar with the software problems, failing of the systems, and upgrading of the system as well. So sorry for the short presentation, but I hope I can I touch few aspects regarding advantages, regarding the challenges, and regarding as well as the written plan and what it contains actually. Thank you, Dr. Amr, for more clarification from from the slides. And this is regarding my today's presentation. If you have questions, you can ask.
Thank you so much, Dr. Amr, for this interesting presentation. Actually, you indeed highlighted on very important points that from our own experience, we're facing this in the market. Just to mention that Dr. Omar is our considered as a pioneer for automation in UAE. Dr. Omar always reached to best practices. Though I agree with you that the plan to be written plan about policy and procedure in detailed one, workflows, downtime plan. Not all hospitals that have this automation have really implemented the proper policies. And this is what we're trying to do in our, let's say, daily work, that we're trying to share the experiences from people like Dr. Omar, pioneers in this field, to share to other new people that they have not know any let's say, thoughts about automation. So having it like properly planned and written, and share the experience to new people having this implementation is very important. What do you think, Doctor? My question: what kind of role the local regulation should play here? And sub question here about narcotics also, because I'm also facing this from your academic point of view. Also, I want to ask: we still have regulation that does not match with what we have on the ground. It means for narcotics, let's say we have a certain regulation or rules to follow in case of safety and security of the medication themselves and securing it. So now we have automated devices that not at all applies with this old regulation. So what the academic roles can play a role here, and how the local regulation can update their portfolio to match with automation and technologies.
From the academic, from the academic part, first of all, those whatever you mentioned about the narcotic medication and others, narcotics and control medicines, I think to some extent it's well, maintained and by the automation, right or not? And this is one of the main advantages. But to deviate little from whatever you asked, is the main thing, whatever I got a conclusion as a general conclusion from this webinars, that the automation should be well established even from the second year in the pharmacy courses, because if you have all the theory aspects and you go practically and go to the hospitals, either to different government hospitals, or you can also give your own suggestion. You can see whatever is there is, if there is any shortage there, you can give your own ideas, not only from the academic stuff, even it come from the students as well. That's why there is a lack. I can see that there is not a barrier, there is a gap between the academic section and the practical section as well. So we hope that in the futures for most of the universities to start with this automation, and with the time we can get more advantages. Even we know that the human brain can utilize a lot of things, which is not even with the, if it is proper trained, not even with the automation, So sorry to deviate a little or from whatever you asked, but this is the main point which I want even to clarify to the others as well. So for academics, we are here in the college really thinks too much about implementation of new courses, especially with the automation, because we feel that the future is for automation, other than other aspects, either it is clinical aspects or because for each scope they're having their own skills, as we say. So hope I can clarify whatever you say. Yeah.
This is actually what we are planning. We have discussed with Dr. Mirza to have an pharmacy automation course in the next academic year, that we have some kind of collaboration just to decrease, this gap between the academic and the practical on the market. Okay, that seems very interesting talks we have today.
Thank you so much for giving us a chance for today.
Any question from the attendees?
Dr. Ammar, I will just give you our experience with handling narcotic drugs in automated dispensing cabinet.
Okay.
The approach now with MOH, you have to apply for approval to store this medication in the cabinet rather than the regular cupboard. As you know, the regulation, they require documentation of dispensing or ordering it through the paperwork. They give us an also approval to accept the electronic ordering system. We can use our health information system to order it. But the point that the storage, the dispensing or the stocking, disposal, wastage of the residual, still done in the narcotic box. So the utilization of automated dispensing cabinet is more secure than the regular cupboard because the key can be available. It should be by policy available with team leader. But in the cabinet, you can regulate it by BioID, which means it's more secure. You make sure that it is only accessible by the assigned staff, like team. And in the cabinet itself, you can put the role of each level, like what is the role of manager, what is the role of team leader, what she has access to do, and inventory access or counting access or removing the medicine access, replenishment access. All these details can be built in the system. But they don't make it as what I prefer if MOH recommend to use the automated dispensing cabinet rather than asking to apply for exception or approval to use automatic dispensing cabinet for handling narcotic medication. Because in practice, I found it more secured, you can track the transactions more by electronic system rather than just filling the paper or following the old school by filling the book one by one for each patient with too many details. While in the computerization, it will be in single step and will automatically recorded or documented under the username and all details in time, in the right time and the right quantity that have been removed. What we do here, we ask for witness, we ask for blind count, we don't show her how much it contains in the last time, we don't show to the nurse. So what she do, for example, morphine, she has to put how many there is, not automatically will show her there is 10, counter check and verify. So if she places a wrong number or the number is different than with the previous transaction, we will know when was the discrepancy happened, which means it's more secure than the current practice or the manual practice.
Okay, thank you so much. Dr. Omar, I want to ask regarding the handling of these narcotic medications. Are you using a fingerprint during? Okay, so fingerprint is there.
Yes.
Okay, that's great. So I think with technology.
Yes, fingerprint and automatically sign out after a few minutes if it is inactive, which means the one who will handle is the same person who's collecting the medication.
I would like to add, because we're talking about narcotics specifically here, even doctor, we not only fingerprint, there is also, let's say, specific restriction we apply for dispensing narcotics. Let's say a double signature, or we call it witness.
Yes.
So you required also another user to access with another fingerprint. Also, there is a count back as regulation asks, so you need to count every time you access this medication. And there is a lot of advanced technologies we have to save time and be highly secured. But yes, every time we apply, there is a lot of difficulties from local regulation to give exceptions, as we still are focusing on the old regulation. This is my point at the start.
Okay. I want to add something within 1 minute. I'm sorry, we are over the time, but I just in the chat room I found that one of the students, she asked about that there is a need to change all the syllabus, which is matching the automation or not. For each country, actually, they are having their own scope. If you go to the West countries, they are having the scope of pharmacies different. They are specialized with a clinical pharmacist. Europe is the same as the Middle East, whereas Southeast places is maybe they are focusing in something more advanced in research and in community pharmacy. So we speak now about UAE because UAE, mashallah, they start to be, they are trying to be one of the top countries, especially in case of the technology. So instead of just doing the same work as a traditional work, as a community pharmacy work, the students here can get more practice, as I say. They can enrich their knowledge with different mechanisms, with different automation devices, because this is the need in the future. And I think even the type of questions or acceptance, or it will be changed in the coming few years. Especially as I said, now the role of a pharmacist, you are not only as a community pharmacist dispensing medications or just not prescribing, giving any kind of counseling part. So automation, we can change to some extent, so that the needs in the hospitals now, especially when we discuss about the errors in the hospitals, it can be solved by those future pharmacists. This is only my point, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Omar, for your valuable talk. Please, for all attendees, I have shared on the meeting chat or chat box the link, so you can give us your opinion about overall today's webinar, and also registered your name, email address, so you can receive back your certificate for this webinar. I would like to thank all our speakers for today and yesterday. Indeed, it was very interesting, and we received a lot of good feedback from UAE, and even we have attendees from India. And hopefully we're gonna launch a chain of webinars and to talk about more specific talks related to automation and the pharmacy processes. I would like to thank you so much, everyone, and wish you a great day ahead.
Okay.